On this day, the greatest Formula One driver who ever lived fell on a ski slope, and the world has never been allowed to know what really happened next. Michael Schumacher was born on January 3, 1969, in Kerpen, Mannheim, a small town tucked away in the industrial heartland of West Germany. His father, Rolf, kept the family afloat with a modest construction business, while his mother, Elizabeth, took on part-time work to help cover the bills. For the Schumachers, racing was never just a pastime. It was an all-consuming gamble. Every spare mark went into Michael's karting, and when that was not enough, the family sold personal belongings and took out loans, stretching their resources to the breaking point. The Erft-Landring kart track, just a few kilometers from their home, became Michael's proving ground. It was here, at age 4, that he first climbed into a battered pedal cart, modified by Rolf to run laps on the clay circuit. By 6, he was racing in the local club, and by 8, he had claimed his first junior title. The track was more than a playground. It was a crucible where skill was forged under pressure and scarcity. But raw talent alone could not keep him on the grid. The cost of new chassis, tires, and travel quickly outpaced what the family could provide. That was when Jürgen Dilk, a local businessman, stepped in. Dilk's sponsorship covered the essentials, equipment, entry fees, and the chance to race against Germany's best. With Dilk's backing, Michael clinched the 1988 German Kart Championship, a victory that finally caught the attention of the Sauber Mercedes Junior program. Selection for this elite development squad marked the first real break, a ticket out of Kerpen and a path toward the world stage. Every lap, every sacrifice, every silent hope from Rolf and Elizabeth had led to this threshold, proof that greatness could be built, not inherited. For more stories that reveal the truth behind racing legends, subscribe now. Spa-Francorchamps, August 1991. The Formula One paddock buzzed with rumors. A young German, unknown to most, would take the wheel of the Jordan 191. Michael Schumacher was called up only days before the Belgian Grand Prix, a last-minute replacement for Bertrand Gachot, whose arrest had left the team scrambling. Schumacher had never raced at Spa, and his experience in the Jordan amounted to just half a day behind the wheel. Yet from his first laps, the usual order began to unravel. Qualifying delivered the shock. Schumacher pushed the green Jordan to its limits, threading through Eau Rouge and Blanchiment with a confidence that stunned even seasoned engineers. When the times were posted, he sat 7th on the grid, outpacing not only the team's expectations, but also Nelson Piquet, a 3-time world champion in a faster Benetton. The numbers were undeniable. Schumacher's best lap, 1 minute 51.212 seconds, put him ahead of drivers with years more experience and far greater machinery. The press seized on the moment. Headlines questioned how a newcomer, with no prior laps at Spa and minimal preparation, could outclass so many established names. In the paddock, engineers and rivals alike spoke of a new authority, a presence that made even the most confident veterans uneasy. Eddie Jordan, the team's owner, called him a wonder of the world. For one weekend, the sport's hierarchy was overturned. Schumacher was no longer a prospect. He was a force. Spa 1991 did not just launch a career, it shook Formula One awake. Subscribe for more untold stories from racing's defining moments. Michael Schumacher's move to Benetton in 1991 marked the beginning of a new era, one where talent and controversy collided on the world stage. By 1994, he was more than just a rising star. He was the man to beat, leading the championship in a season overshadowed by loss. The death of Ayrton Senna at Imola cast a long shadow over every paddock, every decision, every calculation. In that landscape, Schumacher's relentless drive took on a sharper edge. The Australian Grand Prix at Adelaide, November 1994. Schumacher and Damon Hill, separated by a single point, both knew that only one would leave as champion. On lap 36, Schumacher clipped the wall, damaging his Benetton. Hill closed in, sensing his only chance. As Hill dived for the inside, Schumacher turned in. The two cars tangled, Schumacher's Benetton hit the barriers, and Hill's Williams limped back to the pits with terminal damage. The stewards declared it a racing incident. Schumacher, out of the car and out of the race, became Germany's first Formula One world champion. But the celebration was fractured. Questions swirled about intent, about sportsmanship, about the fine line between aggression and recklessness. The official record stood: no penalty, title secured. Yet the debate never faded. 3 years later, at Jerez in 1997, the pattern repeated. Schumacher, this time fighting Jacques Villeneuve for the championship, found himself under pressure on the final lap. Villeneuve moved to pass. Schumacher swung across, the cars collided, and Villeneuve survived to take the title. This time, the FIA response was decisive. They ruled Schumacher's move deliberate, stripped him of his second-place finish in the championship, and left an indelible mark on his legacy. The ruling was clear, the message unmistakable: there are limits, even for the best. Every allegation, every controversy was dissected in real time by stewards, by journalists, by rivals. The record is built on official decisions and contemporary accounts, not rumor. What remains is a portrait of a champion who thrived in the gray areas, whose brilliance was often inseparable from the storms he created. For more untold stories from the heart of Formula One, subscribe now. The turn of the millennium brought Formula One under the shadow of a single red banner. From 2000 to 2004, Ferrari and Michael Schumacher claimed 5 consecutive world titles, reshaping the sport's balance of power. The numbers alone are staggering. 72 Grand Prix victories for Ferrari in those 5 seasons, with Schumacher himself standing atop the podium 50 times. But the true story of this era runs deeper than statistics. At the heart of Ferrari's dominance stood a triangle of control: Schumacher, team principal Jean Todt, and technical director Ross Brawn. Todd's leadership insulated the race team from the turbulence of Ferrari's corporate politics, granting engineers the freedom to innovate without interference. His approach was methodical, almost clinical, building a structure where every department, from engine assembly to pit stop choreography, operated with military precision. Ross Brawn, meanwhile, turned that structure into race day supremacy. His strategic acumen set new standards for how Grand Prix were won and lost. Brawn's reading of tire stints and pit windows allowed Schumacher to dictate the pace of races, often forcing rivals into mistakes or dead-end strategies. Under Brawn's technical direction, the Ferrari F2004 became the symbol of the age, a car so advanced and reliable that it set lap records still unbeaten at circuits like Monza and Magny-Cours. Its 3.0-liter V10 produced over 865 horsepower, yet the car rarely faltered across the grueling calendar. Yet the question lingers: was this Ferrari's age of the driver or the age of the team? Schumacher's greatest talent was never in doubt, but his greatest strength may have been an ability to draw the best from those around him. Todt's organization, Brawn's tactics, and a cadre of engineers and mechanics worked in lockstep, creating a dynasty that left rivals chasing shadows. The result was not just a string of titles, but a new blueprint for how greatness in Formula One could be engineered, assembled, and sustained. Subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth behind racing's defining dynasties. In 2010, Michael Schumacher stepped back onto the Formula One grid, this time in silver, not red. The world watched for a miracle, one more season of brilliance, one last charge against the clock. Mercedes handed him the W01, but the car was raw, unsettled, and the sport had moved on. Over 3 years, from the W01 through the W03, the machinery never caught up to the legend's reputation. Every weekend, public memory clashed with the stopwatch. The numbers told a quieter story. Nico Rosberg, a decade younger, consistently outpaced Schumacher in both qualifying and points. Rosberg's first win for Mercedes in 2012 underscored the new order. For Schumacher, the comeback became a test of endurance, not dominance. The aura of inevitability that once followed him faded, replaced by the stubborn reality of age and evolution. The myth had returned, but time would not yield. December 29, 2013 in Méribel stands as the day Michael Schumacher vanished from public life. A head injury on the mountain, a shattered helmet, and a helicopter rush to Grenoble. Doctors placed him in a medically induced coma and performed emergency surgery, but from that moment, the story moved behind closed doors. The hospital gave only carefully worded updates. Corinna Schumacher, his wife, became the guardian of his privacy, refusing to let her husband's struggle become a spectacle. The family's silence was rooted in law as much as love. French civil code, medical ethics, and European data protection all shielded the details of his condition. No medical images, no unauthorized disclosures, no rumors confirmed. In the quiet, fascination grew. Michael Schumacher, once the most scrutinized man in motorsport, became an enigma, his final chapter fiercely protected by those closest to him. Schumacher's story remains shrouded, not only by silence, but by the uneasy question of where genius ends and myth begins. Today, the legend endures, unanswered and unresolved. Greatness, it seems, is never as simple as the record books suggest. Subscribe for more untold stories from the heart of motorsport.